Okay, welcome to the March 19th, 2024 session of Clementine SDR and Hamside technical session. My name is Dave, KV0S, and this week I've been working on projects, trying to keep my radios running properly. Had to do a little fiddling with them this week. But everything seems to be going okay now. And trying a few new projects. Going to add another antenna maybe. So getting set up to do that. So next on the list is Nathaniel, W2NAF. Go ahead, Nathaniel.
Thanks, Dave. I've been very busy trying to get everything ready for the Hamsa workshop. I think it's coming along nicely. The committee is meeting again tomorrow, and just keeping up with all the other projects, trying to keep track of all the student posters and make sure all of those things are printed. So it's coming along. Back to net.
Okay, next on the list is Michael, AAAK, Mr. Beacon Blaster.
All in raw form. Thank you. Greetings to everyone listening. Back to you, Dave.
Yes. And next on the list, we have Dave, KD0EAG. Go ahead, Dave.
Well, just been wrestling with demons here, and did look into the Linode thing. I'm getting a little low on space. I'm gonna have to think about that again. It's but other than that, nothing real exciting for this crowd.
Okay, next on the list is Jim, K4BSE. Go ahead, Jim.
Well, good evening. Not a whole lot going on here, and been trying to work on this AMSI related presentation I'm building for the club down here, and ran into some computer problems today, but I'll get past them. Otherwise, not a whole lot going on. We're cold again. I thought we were through the cold weather, but no such luck. Had to bring in the plants. Back to net, K4BSE.
Yes, we also had a cold space here in Missouri. Next on the list is Keith Kaiser, WA0TJT. Go ahead.
Well, good evening, everybody. Yeah, like you said, my name's Keith Kaiser, WA0TJT. I've been following you guys on emails for a couple of years, I suppose. I thought maybe I'd give you a chance to check in. You say you're in Missouri, so am I. I'm up in Kansas City. Not sure where you are, but
I'm in Columbia.
Oh, okay. Well, you're on the other side, but well, in the middle.
Yes, in the middle.
Anyway,
there's three of us here tonight that are in Columbia. Myself, Dave Witten, KD0EAG, and Michael, which his label says Michael Howen. He's in Columbia as well. Well, he's actually in Millersburg, which is not quite Columbia.
In the area, anyway.
Yes. So, welcome. I'm glad another Missourian.
Thank you.
Any other comments?
I don't know what to comment on yet.
Okay. Next on the list is Michael, AC0G. Go ahead. Michael,
hey, everybody.
From Millersburg.
From not Columbia, right? I've been working on a variety of things this week. At least feel confident that the radios and antennas are working okay. I've been monitoring some very interesting tracings on 25 megahertz that I'd like to share with everybody when we get to our open discussion to see if anybody has any ideas about what they mean. Working with Rob on trying to make sure that some of the other Whisper Daemon sites that are capturing WWVIQ are in good shape. producing some good data that is being uploaded to Bill Engelke's server in Alabama. Hopefully, we'll get a couple news stations online. Nathaniel's got one, and apparently there might be one in West Point, somewhere close to the totality, the path of totality in April. And still whacking away at the whole convolution correlation issue regarding differentiating WWV and WWVH. I have used Phil's WWV sim program to generate 1,440 1-minute files of WWV for an hour and WWVH for an hour that I can use as reference signals to compare the received signals with. And so I'm working on the analysis to put those two together and see what it can tell me about frequency, phase, and amplitude variations on the received signal compared to an reference signal. That's it.
Sounds very interesting. I'll look forward to hearing more about that. Next on the list is Cam W7 CAM. Go ahead.
Hi, so this is my first time checking in. I'm from Wisconsin, getting back into the ham radio end of things, and decided to go the science physics route instead of the, in addition to the MCOM and whatnot. So I'm getting the station put together for the TDOA experiment in April, and looking forward to maybe getting a grape up and running and all sorts of fun activities. Got a red pitaya I need to figure out what to do with. So
it's a very capable radio. So
it really is.
Yeah.
It was going to be an NMR machine, but I don't have the space for the magnet.
Yeah. Well, there's lots of people that talk to you about all kinds of ideas. So is that it for you?
Yes. Back
Okay.
to me.
Next on the list is Phil, K9Q. Go ahead, Phil.
Hi guys. It's another night where I have to get out of here early, but does everybody know about the KNIQ radio mailing list that Franco started? It's
No.
really good
Many
to
of us
have,
do.
what's that?
I think many of us have already signed up, but there's
Oh, good,
still
good. Yeah, it's growing rather rapidly. It's good. Yeah, because that was what we had before was just a bunch of ad hoc mails, and that was becoming unworkable. I'm really glad that Franco did this. So, yeah, get on there, and it also helped me, and I want to answer all the questions myself. I am working on, well, for one thing, I ought to be working on my presentation for HAMSci. As people with ADD, we work best under pressure at the last minute, and I'm also working on, if you're following the KNIQ radio mailing list, I'm finally adding some zero configuration features to allow you to make it easier to configure this stuff, at least for interactive use, where you don't have to remember IP addresses or domain names. You can get a list of what services are available and then pick things from the list. And I'm putting that into both the control and the monitor program. It probably won't help when you're configuring KNIQ radio to run as a server in the background for things like whisper harvesting. Although I might be able to make a helper program that will do that to help you write the configuration files up front. But I know this is a complicated package to configure. It's bothered me for a long time. The problem is when you put in a lot of features, you end up requiring a lot of configuration up front. And I'm trying to think of what I can do to minimize that. Anyway, back to group.
very good. I have been watching things that you're changing, and it's quite interesting. So
I noticed your emails went out about 3 o'clock in the morning too. So
that's when
fascinating
that's
work
when I work.
schedule.
That's when I work.
Very
Cool.
good. Okay, let's see. Where am I on the list? Looks like next one is Gladys or Ed. N3ED or that one of you there?
Yeah, hi.
Okay,
It's
go
Ed
ahead.
here. And we're going to be going. We'll be seeing a lot of you out at Hamsci. We will be there Friday and Saturday. Enjoying the activities and the learning experience. Back to Ned.
Okay, very good. And next on the list would be J, WB8 SBI. Go ahead, Jay.
Hi, everybody. Dave, is my audio coming through okay?
Yeah, yes, just fine.
Okay, finally got the problem resolved. Good evening, everybody. Looking forward to seeing everybody this weekend. I'll be traveling on Thursday and pulling out Sunday afternoon. And then I'm going to Akron because I want to do reconnaissance on the site or sites where I'm going to be attempting to set up for the eclipse. My goal is on the eclipse to be on the center line and FT8 and be able to just when I'm not in a QSO mode to be able to monitor FT8, and I'll be uploading all the time in real time using WSJTX to the PSK reporter. So I'm assuming that since everything gets uploaded automatically, that I don't have to send in a log myself since everything will already be on PSK. I also have the appropriate sunglasses, the ISO approved glasses. And so I'm looking forward to that. Nathaniel, one thing, a question about food for breakfast and things like that. Uh, I don't know if it's too late to get in a request, but could we get a request to make sure there's some protein at breakfast for those of us that can't do a lot of carbohydrates?
I am afraid it probably is too late to get a request in for breakfast on that. And I can't remember what the menu is exactly. I'm not the one in charge of that this year.
Okay.
So, and also regarding your other comment, yes, so you said, how did you say you're reporting your data?
I'm going to be using WSJTX and have it configured to upload everything it hears to PSK Reporter.
Okay, and then you have you have a way of including your proper grid square in there?
Yes,
Okay,
I will have my proper grid square configured in there.
great. Then it should be fine. Thank you.
Yeah. So my goal is get going about 5 hours before to 5 hours after, and 20 meters. So it'll strictly be 20 meters FT8, maybe FT4. We'll see.
That sounds great. Thank you very much.
Yeah. So looking forward to it. And also last Wednesday, AF8A, from the SE QSO party guy. He was the guest speaker at the monthly meeting of the Hazel Park Amateur Radio Club, the same meeting you presented to earlier, Nathaniel. And he gave a really, really good talk on the QSO party. Very well received. And it was a very good meeting with him being the presenter, even though he was the last minute drop-in because WX5, WX2R, WX3R couldn't make it. So he had to call up Gary at the last moment and say, "Hey, can you cover for me?" He did a really good job. So
That's wonderful.
yeah, so looking forward to seeing you, and I assume your better half will also be in attendance.
Yes, yes, we will both be there. Thank you.
And the harmonic is with the grandparents.
That's correct.
Okay. Party. All right. With that, nothing else in particular. 73 to all, and I'll be reading the mail here. Back to net control.
Okay. Next on the list, well, I have Rob, but I'm gonna jump down and get Tom N5EG. Tom, comments?
Oh, good evening, Dave, everyone on the group. It's been an interesting week. I've gotten a lot of support requests by email for KA9Q and networking stuff. So I've been trying to help folks out in selecting equipment and figuring out how to work through various issues. That's it. Back to the group.
Okay. And I think all I have left is Rob. Is anybody else? Did I skip?
Yeah, you haven't
Dave.
got me yet.
Dave
Oh.
McGaw.
Dave McGaw, you're right in the middle. The problem is the names jump around as I'm watching them, and I can forget. Sorry, Dave. Go ahead.
Good evening to the group. Looking forward to the workshop, of course, but I like the comment before dealing with demons. We're trying to get receivers together and having demons that haven't cropped up before. Hard drives dropping and serial ports that don't enumerate because they changed the chips on us. Anyone looking for a USB serial port, don't get prolific. They changed the chip.
Oh, they're a known nightmare. I wish
Well,
serial
the
could go away.
older chips were working fine, but they came out with a new series with the same part number, and Linux doesn't know it. At least not
Why
the
do we
versions we're
even
running.
still have serial ports? Jesus, it's 40 years later.
Well, talk to the GPS guys.
I know.
But anyway, so trying to get receivers together for our project and get them out and cited, at least some of them, for the Eclipse. And Che, I'm still trying to get in touch with you. I haven't gotten any emails back. I've sent many out. I don't know what the problem is.
I don't know either. I haven't seen anything, so try it again. Whiskey Bravo
Well,
8 Sierra Bravo India at arrl.net.
I think that's what I've sent them to, but I've sent them both from Dartmouth account and my Comcast account. They're not going through. But the whole idea, Jay, is that we would like you to cite one of our receivers for the Eclipse. And if you can, I'd be bringing a live unit out to the workshop if you could pick it up there and take it home with you.
Affirmative, QSL.
Very good. That's really all we needed to know.
Right. And what's your email address? Is it at the league?
You can use n1hac@arl.net.
All right. I'm going to
Now, why don't we try it through there?
yeah, I'm going to try that right now.
Very good. Also, if you could, maybe if you put in the chat your phone number.
Stand by.
And one other thing, I wanted to thank Rob and others for their help last time on PC hosts. And I've now got my, great, thanks, Jay. I now have, I've got my RX 888 upgraded thermally, and I've got a B-Link to run it, and hope to have that online for the Eclipse, as well as if I end up getting a Grape 2, I've got a site for that. And looking forward to the whole event. And of course, we're right near the center line, about 2 hours from here, but an easy drive. Let's just hope the weather behaves. A nice, strong, clear cold front would be really nice this time of year, in a couple of weeks. So, and actually it's talking about cold. We've been getting warm weather, and of course, as with everybody, warmest winter ever. But it's getting chilly again right now. I noticed this afternoon, but this is what I call yo-yo weather. It keeps going up and down, up and down. And I like to say in New England, we get 2 seasons. They just alternate at times.
Yep.
So back to net.
Yes, here we're getting freezing last night and tonight. So then it goes back to above freezing.
It's 76 in Oregon.
Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's been very bad for the maple sugar run.
Yeah. Well, Rob, sorry to put you to the last, but it lets you talk as long as you need to. So
In other words,
next on the list is Rob Robinette.
Don't tell him that.
Don't tell him that. Well, he always gives good information. So
Yeah,
no, you're welcome to shut me down because
no.
well, we're gonna let you make your report, and then basically once you're done, we'll be open for general discussion.
Okay. Well, let's see. I'm preparing my presentation for the Friday morning. Paul Elliott and I are working together on that. So it's about his transmitter and the receive system that I've assembled. And apart from that, the biggest problem I've been struggling is to try to bring all the KFS antennas and receivers up and online. And doing that has uncovered a number of configuration problems and compatibility problems and misunderstandings on my part. So I still don't have that site up. There's 4 antennas at KFS. So there are going to be 4 reporters and 4, but I'm trying to work in concert, make sure that what I do is harmonious with Phil, who I think has been doing some experiments on the KFS receivers. And I want to make sure that we work in harmony. So that's a major goal. But apart from that, we have been looking with Michael's help. We've been looking at all the there's I think 9 or 10 other Whisper Demon Grape sites that are reporting, and so those we we've identified a problem with overmodulation at our reference site DAS W0DAS, which is the site that's 4 kilometers from WWV. So hopefully we're going to get that site cleaned up so that you get a nice solid horizontal line on L frequencies. And I brought up K7OEI, which should be a premier single hop receiver of K9 of WWV. So I think that's enough. We can go into discussion. Michael has some charts and things that he's going to show us some of the results of those recordings, and I'll leave it at that at the moment. You can let it go back to Ned so we can have a general discussion.
Okay. I'm trying to think. Did I call on you, Ed?
Yes, you did.
Okay. I'm just trying to make sure that I didn't miss somebody. So
No, I did miss my Eclipse activities. Gladys and I will be in Dallas, Texas,
okay.
and we've switched now to doing some optical work. There's a comet, Pons Brooks, which is going to be fairly close to the eclipse sun. So we're going to try to capture both the comet and the eclipse in one photograph.
Yes, that's very nice. I did quite a bit of photography in the 2017 eclipse, and because it went right over us that year, and it was really fun.
We've traveled to a number of eclipses around the world, so it will be interesting, and we may keep doing that. Hopefully, switching over to radio at some time.
Very good. So I assume I've talked to everybody, so we're open for general discussion. So if you have questions or want to ask somebody something, go ahead.
Rob, have you seen any more core dumps or problems at KFS? I mean, I see 3 receivers seem to be working fine.
Well, at the moment, I'm just working on. There's some bugs that I need to address in Whisper Demon. When you restart Radio D, the Whisper Daemon clients, my RD Whisper Daemon record doesn't detect that. Apparently
Oh, yeah.
the file descriptor is no longer valid. So I need to go and fix Whisper Daemon because right now if you restart Radio D, I have to restart Whisper Daemon.
Oh, sorry about that. I
No,
have
it's no,
times, yeah.
it's not your problem.
Well, you know why, right? Because the IP address of the sender stays the same, as does the recipient, but the port number changes.
Yes.
And also the RTP state reinitializes.
Yes.
It is possible to to detect that and just say, okay, well, the sender restarted and we'll go with it.
But that's okay. It's my problem, not yours. It's
Okay.
fine. I can.
But
I
you
should.
know how to handle it, right? Just
Well,
detect changes
I'm just gonna detect the timeouts. Have WD record. It times out waiting for new packets. At
Oh,
which point
okay.
at which point I should just tell it to reset itself and go back and look for the.
I guess you can do that, but what's even cooler, what I try to do with my own Whisper decoder, is to have a new one start up and just start writing the same file as the old one. So all you miss is, a few milliseconds of samples, and you may even decode the frame. You may even still decode it, even though it's decoded by separate instances.
Well, that is more. You're right. That's a more elegant solution, but it would require more work than I have time to do before the exam. Yeah, there's a number of.
I think I've already done it, but okay.
Yeah. Well, you haven't written unless you want to go in and rework my WD record. It's in your GitHub. So if you want to enhance it so that Radio D, restarts or don't affect it, that would be great. But at the moment, so every time you start Radio D or it restarts for whatever reason.
All right, I'll try not to do it for no reason, but I did make
no. It's bubbled up to the top of my software to-do list is to fix that and deal with it at least if only in a crude way.
Yeah.
So but that's the other part. I need to do things like detect. I was looking at the ADC overloads at the Whisper Daemon record sites, and you do where you report the overload counts, right? Over range is the field that you report.
Right.
So we went through and corrected all those and got those so that they weren't, adjusted the front end gain and the RF thing. But after doing that, at some sites, the demodulation gain, which needs to be a constant. I set it to 60 dB, which works almost everywhere, but it doesn't work at DAS. So that
it still doesn't, by the way, Rob. I just checked DAS and it's still overloading the way we were noticing last night.
Okay, so we need to reduce the gain even further.
Yeah.
I mean, right. We're not seeing ADC overloads. The ADC, we get at DAS is so close that the signals from WV are constant day to night. So, as long as we set it, we don't have to worry about, unlike other sites where there's 20 or 30 dB variation from day to night in overall signal levels. At DAS, there's almost 1 or 2 dB change. So so we never get an ADC overload there, but we're apparently there's I don't quite understand why this is the case, but the demodulation setting of 60 dB, and I changed it to 50 dB of demodulation gain. And even that, apparently, Michael has just observed, even that still is, we're getting overloads of the PCM. This is the translation from 32-bit floats, which Phil's internal representation is a 32-bit float. But when you translate it from 32-bit float to 16-bit PCM, the AGC gain has to be set, and apparently even 50 dB of gain is too much. If you look there, Michael is showing the peak amplitude. And as you can see that we've got a peak amplitude that's almost full scale there most of the day, almost always full scale. So that's
Yeah,
clearly,
that's 5.
yeah,
And
That-
there's 10.
yeah,
CHU looks fine.
of course, yeah.
CHU looks fine at 7, but then you get this at 15, it's better. 20, it's better. 25, it's
And
better.
yeah, well, you can see if you go up to 25, go up to scroll back to 25. You can see where I changed at the gain
Right
setting.
here.
The demodulation gain at 0330, I guess, is changed, and that dropped the amplitude up on the at 25 megahertz, but it wasn't enough of a change to get us out of overload. Let's see, if you keep going down, let's see there, even what's this at 20 megahertz? What's the amplitude? Amplitude 20
This is
megahertz isn't
15.
overload. 15 is
20 looks
overload.
okay. 15 is, but this is what it was before. I think it was actually blacking out almost here.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
that's 10.
So
That's 5.
So I think what this points out, Phil, is that at least in this one site, we would benefit from a per band AGC setting, because we're not overloading the ADC, but whereas we have one gain setting for all of the WWV IQ channels, and if I reduce it down to 40 dB.
It's easy
it's
enough
not
to
a big,
have your own gain on each channel. That's easy.
That's true. I could do it that way too.
That's right.
Yeah. It's
I said, again, you've got nearly 100 dB of output dynamic range. I don't know why you fret over this so much.
Well, you can see why. There's an example of why we need to
No, I
adjust
don't
age.
understand why. You've got 100 dB on each one. You can pick a gain figure on each one that will bring you within that 100 dB range.
That's right. But
you don't have if 100 dB range isn't enough throughout the day to keep you within range, then something else is wrong.
No, I mean the point here, Phil, is only that the simple configuration, right? Where there is one WWV IQ definition.
Then make multiple. That's right.
And I have to make multiple.
Has its own gain, but you can have multiple settings. It's not
of course.
problem.
Okay,
I
understand
that way just so you can minimize typing. If you need to type more, type more.
Yeah, well, it's hard. I'm still struggling to get Whisper Demon to understand this and communicate understand the settings of Radio Deem. So that's I've now implemented a way out at you pointed out that the config files need to have different names if you have multiple 888s on one LAN. So I've implemented that. Okay, that's implemented now.
Right.
But now I can see that I need to have a per WWV band decoding. Now this is demodulation decoding, and so I need to incorporate into WWV the ability to monitor both the ADC, which is the gain, or the RF gain, which is common to all of them. So there needs to be some place where
common to all.
Yeah, that has to be common. Okay, and then a separate monitoring of each band and adjusting the gain on each band so that we don't get overloaded.
Well, I have this thing called an AGC. It works real well, but you want to turn it off. So
well, but you can't. I can't turn it off, Phil. These is IQ recordings. You can't have AGC and IQ don't mix.
They work just fine. You don't want AGC for other reasons, but look. Put it this way. Look, I tell you that if you don't like my AGC changing the level because of your need to do noise measurements, okay, fine. Then turn it off. Well, that's going to give you an output that is going to change with the input directly. If that changes too much, well, you're stuck. I mean, you got to do something else on the output.
Okay, well, Phil, my understanding is that if we're adjusting the gain AGC on signals where we're recording the IQ, okay, we're introducing an amplitude modulation function into the into the because this
Okay.
IQ, okay, so this
Fine.
IQ display we're seeing, so we're going to introduce into the IQ recording a amplitude modulation function, which
Fine.
means that
Then turn it
we're
off. Then turn it
but
off.
that
Okay. If
but
you
then if
want
I
to
ta-
record a raw recording, you don't want gain variations, then turn off my AGC. All you have to do is pick a gain setting that will cause the output to stay within 100 dB throughout the course of
I
a
say,
day. That doesn't seem too hard to me.
yeah, well,
Right?
I would love to have you help me on working out through all of this.
You guys are already doing what needs to be
the
done. You're taking data throughout the day and get your amplitudes and just pick a gain setting that
it's
keeps
a
it within 100 dB range.
it's
Is it
a
more
it's
than
a
100
simple
dB?
as we always say, it's a simple matter of software.
Is no, it's a simple matter of just understanding what needs to be done.
I think
Look,
I know.
are
I
your
know.
output, do I understand correctly that your output levels on a given channel are varying by more than 100 dB in a day? Is that true?
No, they're not.
Okay, then what's the problem?
They're varying between bands. So I need to go in and
Then fine, then create
yeah,
one for each band. Not surprised that your
that's
levels at the different frequencies vary.
that's what I need to do. And
Okay.
what
All right.
Michael is showing us why I need to do that. And
Okay.
it's just a new feature. It's a new interaction between
Okay. Just
Whisper
create
Demon
a
and
separate section with a different gain setting for each WWV channel
yeah.
frequency. There are only 6 of them.
Yeah, well, it's a again, it's just one more task. There's and we need to be and part of it, it involves monitoring and detecting when there are overload events,
Yeah, just
recording
watching
those
if you
and so on.
haven't changed the front end filtering,
Yeah,
those filters in there. Then,
no, you
know.
provide the mechanisms. It's just that as I'm going through and deploying and testing these monitoring sites. We're
Yeah.
learning the need for new interactions between clients, like in this
Okay.
case, Whisper Demon and yours. And you have the mechanisms in place. It's just that, this is new to me, and it's just a software development task, and it's on my to-do
Okay.
list.
All
So,
right.
but you don't need to do anything. I'm not asking you to do
I need
anything.
to get out of here soon.
Okay. Anyway,
Here's something new to me, and these are 2020. I've shared a few of these tracings with Nathaniel and Rob and Dave Larson and Dave Witten, and Nathaniel asked me to put a PowerPoint together, and so this is a PowerPoint that goes from from Leap Day, the 29th of February, to today, and this is all on 25 megahertz. And you'll notice that as 25 disappears,
and I don't think we're seeing. We're
And
not.
so
I don't think we're seeing what
so
you're.
somehow I'm paused. So hang on a second. I beg your pardon.
yeah, we're seeing the previous
Let me start
page.
again. How's that?
That's better.
That's
go.
better.
Okay.
Yeah, there we go.
So
Yeah.
this is Leap Day. This is 25 megahertz. This is an amplitude. This is an algorithm that is applied at University of Alabama. Bill had one of his students, I think, do this. So for each of the frequencies, it generates this amplitude graph with uncalibrated units, whatever that is, and then the typical spectrogram. And so between the reappearance of WWV at on 25 megahertz and its disappearance, you see this weird tracing of signals, discontinuous, jumping down. They're overlapping, so it's not like I don't understand what's going on. That's the 29th. This is the 30th, the 1st, the next day, completely different, but still kind of in the ballpark. This discrete little signal that's appearing here, it overlaps, it bounces back and forth here before things are reconstituting. There's a very light tracing here. Who the heck knows what any of this stuff is?
I'd
This
say
is
it's
the
RFI.
previous day. I beg your pardon?
I'd say it's RFI, an artifact. I certainly wouldn't jump to anything else, any other conclusion.
Well,
I theorize
it makes me
think
wonder
it's.
whether this is carrier. You don't think this is carrier? You think it's RFI? Like something not WWV?
Yeah.
Maybe.
I mean, God, have you seen what a switching power supply looks like?
Well, yeah.
There's
This
also
is the
multiple.
next day. This is the next day.
I mean,
This
well,
is
how
the
is this Doppler
next
shift
day.
measurement being done? There's some kind of PLL that's tracking a carrier, right? Well, what does this PLL do on noise?
Maybe a side scatter.
There's
Well,
also
I
other
sent this
broadcast
to Gwynn.
stations.
He didn't think it was side scatter. This stuff is all above what he would refer to, or all of us refer to as the maximum usable frequency. This is overnight.
Yeah, but that's
So-
when you
Yeah.
get side. That's when you get side scatter.
But how is this Doppler shift being measured? Some kind of frequency lock loop, correct?
Well, I do not know what the internals are of the. I do not know.
That's important.
There may be a PLL in the program that they're using to generate the spectrograph, but yeah, I do not know.
Yeah, I
That's
know
why.
how this plot's being generated. I mean, I don't know. Is that a spectrogram? Is it a PLL? I mean, I don't know how this is being generated.
Well,
This is a spectrogram. This is
it's a spectrogram, so it's
Okay.
taking the IQ data that's coming out of the RX888. So however, the Whisper Daemon program is sending the IQ data into digital RF, and then gets up to Bill Engelke's server. Once it's in digital RF and the IQ data, then that's imported into Python, and then we're using the SciPy spectrogram library.
Oh, so it's a spectrogram, not a PLL. Okay. Well,
Right.
what you're seeing is
Right.
this background noise that you're not seeing during the day because it's overwhelmed by the WWV signal. I mean, maybe it's there during the day, you just don't see it because it's covered up.
Have we seen this sort of thing at any other site?
not in this form. In fact, I've looked at Dave Larson's site, who is, 14, 15 kilometers from me, to see if there's the same kind of tracings. You see the whispery ones still in here as well.
Yeah.
The fact that they're sort of linear, they line up. This is the first idea that made me think that they're connected with the original carrier. But my question was whether it had something to do with my equipment, had something to do with the digital signal processing path, or really was some weird phenomenon where this really was carrier that was sneaking through in some bizarre fashion. This was an interesting night on the 16th when there were actually looked like there was more loud, higher amplitude little snippets of real carrier coming through, but you still see these tracings that are kind of lurking there in the background. They're not out here, they're not down here so much, but they're actually within 1 or 2 hertz of the carrier.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe there is something else. This is a completely different arc altogether, but here are some of these really fast, low periodic traces that are running up again within just a hertz of the carrier.
There's a couple.
And I'm not even
possibilities
proposing what, for instance, they are. I'm curious at just the way it shows up and how consistent their appearance is, as you go through.
Those
Whether it
strong
represented
carriers you're seeing at night may actually be like sporadic E.
There are transmitters at 25.02 ISM transmitters. If they're putting out spurs, that's one possibility. Also, some citizens band folks are getting as far down as 25 megahertz.
Yeah, but they wouldn't be spot on 25 megahertz.
Likely not, but
And
the ISMs
.02, that's
maybe.
20 kilohertz up. You wouldn't be seeing that here.
Anyway, I just sort of found this fascinating. I
well-
haven't really seen it as clearly at other sites, the ones that I've looked at that have been uploaded to Bill's server. They
It's
look
another
mostly,
aficionado of 25 megahertz that the carrier. We should be looking at other receivers, see if the same thing shows up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I
I
have
think
looked, but I haven't seen much that corresponds with this.
yeah.
Um,
I think it does make sense to try to be on the lookout for that at other receivers. And then I also think, you know what Phil said, where it could be RFI is certainly something you consider too. You might think if there's something that is going on at your house that might be causing that. It's only at 25 megahertz.
I do not see it at other. I don't see anything even close to this at other frequencies. Maybe a slight. The fact that I've seen it here on 25 makes you look for something like that on another one. That
Yeah.
isn't quite so impressive.
I'm not sure that that's in any way what we're looking at here, but do also be aware there is such a thing as airplane scatter.
Have you tried
Well,
terminating the antenna input and see if it's still there?
doing what to the antenna input? What was that?
You're just terminating it in
Oh.
50 ohm termination.
Oh, to see if it's still there, even with nothing
Yeah, in
coming
other
in
words,
from the antenna.
disconnect your antenna.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
right. No, I have not.
That's a
In
good idea
Um,
too.
test.
I was just gonna look at Dave's. He's next door, and this is his tracing from today, and he has a little bit of
Oh,
stuff in here.
You have to shut this one down before we can see the other one, Mike.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you're sharing your window rather than your screen. So when you change to
Why don't
another
I try
window,
sharing
we
the
don't
whole
see it.
screen? Advanced. Where's your screen computer? Basic. And I see the whole screen. This is Dave Larson's. Can you see that?
Yeah.
So that's Dave's 25 318. A little bit of something here on 20. And it has, well, I'm not sure it has exactly the same shape. This is 15. This is CHU. If I go, this gonna lose you? Just going to the same website.
We can see the list.
All right, let's see. I'm not going to do DAS. Who else is in here?
Does John
Well,
Ackerman collect this?
This is North Dakota.
Oh,
This is my site that's up in Fargo. It's a lot noisier. That looks more like noise, right? Let me go back a day. Don't see much, but it's a lot foggier. This is the antenna up there is a loop on the ground. And not quite as efficient. What other stations should I look at here? Oops, observations. RX 888. KFS, I think. Well, that's not going to help because he just got that turned on. Maybe a few days ago. Let's see. Nope. It's no joy either. Well, anyway, I just wanted to share it. It just struck me as being sort of bizarrely consistent at my site, and maybe it is site specific. I will continue to look for it elsewhere to see if it's something that's of more general interest rather than particular interest. If it's some local noise source, it would be interesting for me to find it. or some other stray demon lurking and whispering in my digital signal processing path. But that's it's in some respects it's also an artifact of looking through the different sites. Rob mentioned we've got about well, more than half a dozen sites currently updating on a daily basis to Bill's server at University of Alabama. These 10 kilohertz plus or minus 5 hertz bandwidth tracings in digital RF format around the WWV sites, broadcast sites, and it includes the CHU sites as well. So just traversing those and trying to check on some quality before the eclipse, make sure levels are set right and there aren't some other problems that are lurking. That's one of the things that I noticed sort of standing out that was kind of unusual.
So I wanted to mention that Michael has probably put more time into looking at these graphs than about anybody. Hopefully, if you have a station, you would look at your site. And these have only been available since early February. So daily images like this. So it's a really nice tool. And it takes a little while to learn to navigate and find your the different data graphs that you produced, but it's well worth it.
Yeah, I think that's a really nice analysis, Michael. And I think it'll be, I guess interesting to try to figure out what is causing it, whether it is something geophysical or if it is something that's just, instrumental or RFI.
Yeah, Rob and I were looking at a tracing yesterday, and he mentioned the idea that maybe some of the little blips that we were seeing were due to air traffic, and planes flying overhead and causing a transient increase in the magnitude of the signal received between point A and point B.
But that's absolutely been, Glenn Elmore has documented that, not just at VHF was for years ago, but even at 20 meters, you can detect airplane scatter. It's
higher the
absolutely
frequency,
there.
the greater the effect, of course.
Yeah,
But well documented at FM frequencies.
Yeah,
I've heard airplane scatter forever.
Yeah,
it's fascinating. Just a aside on that, we've got a note here. The Haystack had their ISIS passive radar system set up, presumably for ionospheric research, but it also clearly was picking up other things because the DoD was interested in it, and you couldn't. Frank Lind couldn't talk about it, and I said, "Well, I know exactly what's going on. It picks up airplanes
and probably balloons."
Yeah, we've actually I know Glenn and his test has been able to identify individual flights as they pass through the airspace as they land in San Francisco. They can associate a particular pattern with an individual airplane passing through, and there's signatures associated with them. Different airplanes have different vortices and sidebands that they introduced. So it's you have to do these are best by static measurements.
Right.
This is not the Malaysian flight mystical measurement.
or the hunt for Red October, where you're tracking submarines and you can identify which submarine.
Yeah, it doesn't work that way. But
there's Air Force One.
Probably not what you're seeing, Michael, because it's so long term, and you could see it throughout the night. But it's certainly something
throughout
that
the night
happens.
and night after night, but with a different pattern practically every night, different periodicity, different.
it would
And
be
slope?
it would be really nice if those views could be enhanced so that you could zoom in and get both a spectral, zoom in an individual, down to the minute or hour, and look at it and scroll through time and look at the spectrum, have a spectrum and waterfall display view of the grape data. I mean, that would give you a better insight into the exact nature of this, because you have this, 24-hour view. That's all you see. And seems to me that there's a lot more detail in the data than you're able to extract from the views that you're using.
Well, fortunately, the whole data is back on the hard drive, right?
It's there. It's
That
there. Yeah.
that spectrogram is really drawn just from that subset, that very, very narrow 10 hertz band pass around the carrier. So,
well, that's another layer. I mean, we have the 16 kilosample wave files for the last week on most of the Whisper Demon sites. So you could go in and look at a much wider spectrum if you. But I don't know. Is there a tool that would allow us to browse through the wave file archive, zooming in, looking at, as you do with the Kiwi, you can zoom in, see a very narrow band, zoom out, go, in time, forward and back in time, and, get some interactive um, insight into the nature of these signals, because you have only one view, and it's a pretty high level, very, very coarse view of those signals. So I think that there's a lot of data here that we're recording that we're not seeing, and when we see it, it's hard to interpret because we have only this one view of it. But I think there's another master's project, some master student project, Nathaniel.
Oh, we have got tons of those, don't we?
Yeah.
you have tons of master students?
No, we don't have
No.
nearly enough masters or PhD students.
Lots of topics need the
lots of ideas, lots of things to do, but not nearly enough people.
One of those many to one problems, right?
Funding. Yeah.
Anyone
But,
notice that yesterday was the anniversary of the death of Christian Doppler in
Oh,
1853?
really?
Mm-hmm.
No, I didn't know that.
Just a
That's
note.
fading from my memory, actually.
Yeah, in Vienna back in the day.
this is just a snapshot view of the down here in this window. Let's get rid of these other windows for now. But this window, we're logged on to the Grape server, up in Alabama, and I wrote a little script that looks through all of the Whisper Demon Grape sites and their contributions for the last week. So you can see that there are, as of, for the 18th, right, ending, what is it, 3 hours ago, there were 11 sites contributing, and and this is just the amount of data that they're contributing. So each one of these is so this 42 is W42. That's the site identifier issued S00042. So these are the the identifiers that for each of the sites, and so we have some gaps here. Three of them have not yet been configured to contribute. I don't remember which one is which, but you can get a notion. These sites all are 10 bands. So but I learned from Bill that the Grape 1 and maybe the Grape 2s that have the Raspberry Pi as their host don't have enough CPU power to compress the data before uploading it. So the uploads that are coming from the Grape 1, and again, I don't know which of which, but all of his uploads are 30 megabytes. And one of the things that I wondered when I asked Bill about this is why are ours are smaller? And he said, oh, well, we run at compression level 1 and Franco set compression level 9 because all these hosts have, x86 CPUs on them. So apparently we are uploading 10 bands in less data than the Grape 1s and 2s are uploading 1 or 4 bands. So normally a full 10 band upload for 24 hours seems to be roughly in the 20 megabyte, I'm sorry, 27, 30 megabyte range per day. So this is a very coarse view that I use to verify that these Whisper Daemon Grape systems are online and working. So, and that's what you were seeing Michael display when he was showing us graphs of those data. So anyway, I'm trying to stop sharing. Anyway, that's we have more sites in fact that may come online before the eclipse. You do know that we have some transmit sites in addition to Michael AK, who's still with us, who's the top beacon in the world now. It's there are more reports of his signal than there are of any other beacon in the world. I don't did you know that, Michael? I don't if you were aware. Yeah, you are. Yeah, if you go look, let me bring up if you go look at whisper.rocks or Phil Barnard's site. Let me show you. Let's see. This is this one. So if you go to whisper.rocks, I have to get you. Okay, whisper.rocks.
I got it up here, Rob, if you want.
Okay, well, I have.
there
Are
you
you
go.
seeing it now? Okay.
You got the
So you go
beacons.
to go to top beacons. Now there's top spotters as well, but in Michael's case, top beacons. So these are sorted by the number of unique, another sites that receives a signal. Well, this is one metric for quality, but if you're really interested in who's making the most measurements, how many spots are, how many people and how many measurements were made per day? Michael's site at 177,000 receive spots recorded is double the next one. And this is also a Whisper Daemon, Whisper Sound site. This is the site of Paul this is his site near KPH. But for our interest for ionospheric measurements, what we care about is not how many different people received us, but really how many receive events were recorded.
And these are disciplines. So these are frequency accurate transmissions.
These all these because Michael's transmissions are GPS disciplined, and many of the receive sites, all the Whisper Daemon sites, most of them are GPS disciplined. That means that the Doppler shift that is recorded along with the Whisper 2 spots reflects the motion of the ionosphere, not the drift of the transmitter or the receiver. So
number 5 is the site that's at Dave Witten's house, KD0EAG.
Yes. And this is
and 6 is another Paul Elliott site.
That's false. And this is another Whisper Daemon site down in San Jose, Costa Rica. This is a Whisper Sound site, John Clark. So we're already, almost, we're making these Whisper Sound sites are making a major contribution to the data. Now somebody needs to be going, go and look at it and try to interpret from it. But this is what I think is the major criteria for success is getting a lot of raw spot reports from known good beacons like Michael's. We also will soon have another transmit site in Rochester, New York. Jim Lill, WA2ZKD, has a whisper sound, and he's going to put it up. And he's got a whisper sound 8. So hopefully he may be able to get all 8 bands up. We're not certain about that, but he'll at least have 6 bands up well before the eclipse. So we'll have him and Michael and Mike in Port Huron, and Michael and Dave Witten down in Missouri, and Clint K70EI is going to make an expedition down to near Dallas, and so he will have a whisper sonde down there, transmit and receive. So you're going to put a receive site up as well. So I think we're going to have lots of good transmitters and receivers along the path of the eclipse. That's anyway.
We're
I
trying to
wanted
develop
encourage.
the list of stations, because when Nathaniel or Bill or Christine or whoever the scientists are and their master's students who are going to be analyzing this data, it'll be important to know which transmit and receive sites have the GPS discipline,
Yeah.
so that those
Yeah.
can be sort of the anchor paths for whatever analysis they're doing.
Yeah. So this is a list of the top receive sites, and you can see that if you sort by the number of received, or this is a Whisper Demon site in Canary Island. This is John, and I'm not sure. I believe he's Whisper. He is GPS disciplined, and this is Tom Paratori. He is, and these are all Whisper Demon users, except for this guy is too. KD2. Where is Steve Frankie? Is not on the list. Here you are. You're at number 13. Okay,
Yep.
well that's
Dave
enough.
Larson was on there too, not too far down.
Yeah.
KVOS.
Yeah. So you guys are, there's a trove of data. Nathaniel, you saw that I forwarded an email from Stu Ogawa about applying AI.
Yes, and I replied to that.
Yeah. What Stu is trying to has been exploring is to use Gwynn's techniques that he applied to the October eclipse and try to get the AI system to apply that to all of the measurements. I mean, Gwynn did a presentation at the AGU, and he'll be talking about it in more depth this weekend. But he made measurements and did an in-depth analysis of one path during one event, one eclipse. Well, there's hundreds, if not thousands, of such paths and events that could be studied, but they just cannot be studied by a human being. I mean, it's just so. What I think that, as I understand it, Stu's work going to look at what Gwynn has done and see if he can't apply that model, incorporate it into an AI analysis of the whole database, and so that one could get a even higher level view of what was going on propagation-wise during an event. So I think we're on the path to perhaps getting even automating the analysis, the data that we're gathering. So at some point, if you have people working on that, we should try to organize a conference call and get Stu involved. He teaches at Stanford and CMU and so on, teaches AI. So he's deeply experienced in this and does it professionally, and is consulted for the companies whose names you all know on applying AI systems to their data, which is of course in the case of the social media sites, tera interactions per day. So so our data set is kind of small change for him, but coming up with useful insights is not a trivial task. But I think it's one that could make this launch this investigation into more of an analysis phase instead of working on gathering data, because I think we're now getting to the point where we've got transmit and receive sites gathering good data. We're getting data about WWV, but so far only Gwen and I mean, you've done some analysis, right, Nathaniel, in the past,
Mhm.
and
I
yeah,
still am doing analysis.
and you still are.
I just
And
submitted a paper 2 weeks ago.
Good. Well, then, it's good. That's very reassuring. And it's good to have Michael doing his work with these grape charts. And there's Gwen, but those are the only two people three people now that I'm aware of. The three of you working with the data that we're gathering. And to me, it's really important that we don't just focus on tilling the field, but we need to harvest. And do analysis. So I think Stu's one possible path does. And I think you already were considering that, right? You have,
Yeah, we've done a little bit with it,
yeah.
but it is not well developed, and I think his approach is going to be different from what we've done. So I am very, very glad that he's working on that.
Well, good. Well, I think he needs, but he'll benefit from some encouragement, because I haven't been able to encourage him much because I know so little about
Yeah.
about the analysis phase of this, and I've been so engaged in in setting up the receive and to some extent the transmit sites. So
Bill Engelke, I remember at Hamvention a couple of years ago, presented at least one or two examples of some machine learning analysis of some
And
traces.
so that's what I was talking about. We have done that a little bit, but we weren't super successful with what we were trying to do with that. And we've gone back more to an approach where we're using like just Fourier transforms, and more traditional techniques and less AI for that particular project. But he has been trying to apply some of that. So he does. We do have a poster. He has a poster at the Hamside workshop about that particular project.
right. Well, that'll be good.
Yeah.
So
I wouldn't take the fact that we weren't able to make it work for what we were doing so far. I wouldn't take that as necessarily discouraging. It's just that, what we were trying to do, maybe we weren't ready to do that with AI machine learning, or maybe, that wasn't the right problem to apply it to. So,
well, as I inferred from a few of Stu's remarks, he joins my Wednesday call, and when he said, no, this is not machine learning. This is not going to involve training. A lot of the AI techniques are machine learning, where you present a data set with a known result that you got, and then get the AI system to mimic this. As I understood what Stu was saying, no, this is fundamentally different. This is you present a data set, and the AI system extracts the meaningful conclusions from it without any training. Now that seems
so it's unsupervised. Yes, it sounds like magic. We have not done that.
Yeah, that's a little spooky to me. But anyway, that's what Stu's about and what he's interested in. So I'm hoping that we'll get some of his insights. Anyway, what other that's an important subject.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yes,
can you hear me? Okay, yeah, I'm in my car. Hey, comment for Rob and anybody else that's on the West Coast. There's a SpaceX launch coming up at 7:30. If you your skies are clear, you might see it. Unfortunately, it's cloudy here in San Diego.
I'm sorry,
Where
what's
is it
coming up?
launching from? A SpaceX
Huh?
launch
SpaceX launch
from
from
San
Vandenberg.
Diego?
From
Oh, from
Vandenberg. Well,
Vandenberg.
normally, you know, if the skies are clear for a twilight launch, we get a great show. But unfortunately, it's cloudy here right now. But you can see it all the way up to San Francisco. So
Really? You know, the other
Yeah.
day we were out at the beach in the afternoon, like at 1 o'clock, and I saw an object that appeared to be descending, like I've never seen before in the sky. It wasn't a contrail. You could see it, and it was up there for about 20 minutes. It appeared to be descending, and it came out. You could see the two kind of a split contrail off of the back of it. As if there were the wingtip vortices that were producing condensation, and it just descended. It seemed to descend, but it was moving away from us. It was moving toward the west, and it eventually I got it lost. But I think it was coming down, but I had no way of identifying or knowing
well,
where to look.
If you saw for 20 minutes, I don't think it was in space.
Yeah, it was.
No,
Well, not
stuff
maybe
is
not
moving a
that.
lot faster.
Yeah, well, something was descending. Is what it looked like, and it was almost vertical, and it had this V-shaped tail off of it, and it clearly
Yeah.
wasn't. It must have been an alien spacecraft. Then I guess I saw it. It wasn't, but it came down, and then it faded. It was fading away because it appeared, and then it started to go horizontal. It looked pretty vertical for about 5 minutes, and then it appeared like we were seeing it move away from us toward the west. I don't know. Anyway, that was.
I don't know.
How do you?
Doesn't
Where do you?
sound like
Where do you
a
find
spacecraft.
out? Where do you find out about objects that are space objects that are flying by?
Oh, well, I mean, this is the launch, so you have to go to the SpaceX website or
Oh, okay. Well, that's
Twitter
a
page.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a 7:30 our time in about 10 minutes. Last I saw, they were loading. Of course, they often get delayed for weather.
Is
But
this
the weather
launching?
here is,
Yeah. Is this
What?
launching? Is this launching from Vandenberg?
yeah, launching from Vandenberg. That's why I mentioned it, because out
I was-
here we can get a pretty good show when they launch at sunset, like which it is right now.
I actually got to see a launch from Vandenberg flying back from Japan once.
Hmm.
Yeah.
It was off the side of the airplane. Rob, if you go to Heavens Above website, they do have a list of objects that are greater than a certain magnitude.
Heavens above?
Heavens dash above.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, that's
thank
probably
you.
the best site for visual observation satellites.
Heavens-above.com.
Very good site. You know.
And yeah, there's 10-day predictions of satellites of interest, which is useful for ISS and stuff like that. But
Yeah,
then just below that
especially-
is daily predictions for brighter satellites.
Yeah, it's especially good for the ISS. Yeah.
Yeah, I often see things go over and we'll look it up there, see which it was. It's usually a booster.
Yeah,
Oh.
more than once I've seen the ISS without even planning to, and I turn on my radio and there it is.
Oh, that happens. Yeah, that happens to me all the time. But actually, the more maybe a significant one that I spotted one night going over, it was going the wrong direction for ISS, and it was very bright. It turned out it was Tiangong.
Yeah,
That's
Cool.
quite visible now.
getting crowded up there.
Yeah.
I'm worried about that actually.
Hmm. Well, that's
Yeah, I'm gonna
Okay.
leave the neighborhood. It's too crowded.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Yogi Berra says, nobody goes there anymore. It's too crowded.
You're right.
I
It's
thought
too
that was,
crowded.
I thought that was Groucho Marx.
Okay.
Something-
Well,
Anyway, it's funny.
Anyway,
okay.
Go
So-
look, Rob. You might see something. It's clear.
Okay, well, I have a view to the kind of the west from my window here, but it's, I think the clouds have come in. Looks,
Nothing to the south. Huh?
yeah, I don't think I'm gonna see anything.
Oh,
Usually
one thing,
looking up.
just
Go ahead.
while I think of it, Rob, one thing to remember to do is log in. It doesn't automatically set your location. And if you don't log in, it puts you to 0, 0.
Yeah, so,
Oh yeah. Don't forget that. Yeah.
That's
Yeah. The
starting to
location of
happen.
Null Island is it's called. There's no real island there, but 0, 0 is referred to as Null Island.
Exactly.
Yeah.
okay, well, I've created myself a user. Okay. So,
Unfortunately, it won't help with
this is
objects
great.
being
Thank you
launched.
all. Thank you all. Okay, this is good. Search for. Okay. Okay, well, I look forward to seeing you all. We're hoping to get together, John Ackerman and a few others of us, if those of you who might be interested. We're trying to organize a impromptu meeting to discuss how to put together kits for RX 888 installations. I mean, there are you can't just. I'm going to try to show how you can just buy the basic components. You can order. You can get a 888 next day. I didn't realize it from Amazon.
Oh yeah, it just
at
popped you.
at a premium. You know, it costs an extra $90, but you can get it the next day. So the 888's available. The B-Links you can order, or Lenovo if you want to go budget. Those are next day or 2-day availability. But there are other components like the low pass filter that you really need to have that are not commonly available, and maybe people aren't aware of them.
Interface for the clock.
When you say,
should
Yeah,
develop.
the clock, the external clock interface to the 888. You know, Clint repaired one 888 that I blew up. I blew up the 5351 on the external clock input, but doing something bad to it. So we need to have, I think, every user of the 888 class, really, anything where you have an external clock input. I don't think any of them, at the Kiwi, I don't think there's, they have a couple of diodes as a protection device on those inputs, which is not enough to really protect these devices.
And I was reading the email earlier today that, they've got a DC offset. And you can't just put a transformer on that.
Yeah.
You'll pull down the output of your driver and you'll pull down the input.
Yes.
On the RX 888. It really, that discussion, putting a capacitor on each end of the transformer may very well work.
That's one approach. Glenn Elmer has a design that is, far more elegant in that he and also at the same time improves the phase noise of the system with a very inexpensive little add-in board that has its own VXO on it.
Yeah, I saw its discussion of that.
Yeah, that's
jam locked oscillator.
Yes, yeah, he does he locks, he has an external oscillator on this little board that is of higher quality than the oscillator that is incorporated into although a very good one, but is incorporated in the 888, but this is even better and not that expensive. But Glenn's adapter board allows you to just, okay, if you have, it's protected, of course, against any damage from being connection events. But more importantly, you can plug it in and it'll lock to your GPSDO. If you disconnect it, the thing runs off of its internal VXO, so that it makes the external clock input of the 888 almost completely impervious to abuse. So that's the most elegant solution. may not be really required. I mean, I need to improve. I'm not sure, Phil, if is Phil still here or is he gone?
He just dropped off.
He just dropped off. Well, the triple eights out at KFS, one of the remaining problems out there is that, I'm driving three triple eights from one clock output, and they're daisy chained, and I'm not sure. I'm not sure that I'm not sure. I'm getting what I'm getting is I'm seeing some transient 2 or 3 minutes a day where the clock appears to be off. It seems to have picked up a few extra glitches, and so it's not very important in the context of the grape recordings. Whisper Demon, if there's a missing minute, Whisper Demon validates the whole 1440 minutes before it uploads the daily recordings. And if a one of the minutes is missing, any minute that's missing, or it's not exactly the 960,000 samples, Whisper Demon throws it away and substitutes a silence file that's just all silence. So, and I'm seeing that Whisper Demon throwing a few of those away per day at KFS. And I haven't really looked at other sites, but so one of my software works, is to enhance Whisper Demon's monitoring of the quality of the recordings to see earlier if there's a problem with the clock, because right now you don't really know if there's a clock problem until the end of the day when I go through that validation procedure. So there's a lot of
Rob, are you daisy chaining them?
I'm daisy chain them, and I terminate the I put a pad
terminate at the end
and a termination at the end. Yeah.
Yeah. The reason I'm asking is John Ackerman has a clock distribution board.
Yes,
made
and
for 10 megahertz. I don't know if it would run at 27.
Well, he's bringing me one of his boards of
Okay.
Thursday, so I'm gonna address. John has a solution for me,
Very
but
good.
his solution is to some extent a little brute force. The thing is, you can the output of a Bogner or the GERT that John is developing is, I don't know, it's plus 10 or plus 16 dBm, which is way stronger than the 888's input wants. So you really need to attenuate the clock before you present it to the input. And so I think what John has for this solution is just a passive splitter, where he just splits the signal, having a resistor divider going to each of the outputs.
Yeah,
and that doesn't, it works. It's not perfect,
But
it's not.
is it documented what the RX-888's looking for?
Paul Elliott did an extensive analysis and published it probably to the Whisper Demon group. And maybe it didn't make it to this group, but Paul did a detailed analysis and concluded that the optimal range is 0 dBm to minus 15 or minus 16 dBm with a floating input is what the 888 wants. So I think that John's passive solution is probably adequate for my installations. Glenn's is more elegant, and also offers better phase noise, the low frequency phase noise. Because the below the loop bandwidth, the phase noise of the clock is determined by the local oscillator, not by the GPS disciplining. So Glenn's solution puts in an improved oscillator and improves the phase noise. I'm not sure that's important to us. I mean,
that's a very low input. I would have assumed it was more a logic input level.
Yeah. Well, the signal is being applied to a pin of the 5351,
Right.
And this is, okay, which is also alternatively used as a crystal, where you
Yeah,
connect the
so
crystal.
that's the question. Do they have it set to as crystal input or as logic
There's,
input?
I don't think that there's a way to
'Cause-
set it. I mean, you should read, I'll look and see if I can't forward Paul's report to you,
Yeah, I
Dave.
may have seen it
Okay,
in the past.
because it's, he did it maybe a week or so ago.
Oh,
and-
okay. What's his name?
And Paul Elliott, WB6CXC. And yeah,
WB6 what?
CXC, Charlie X-ray Charlie.
I would really like to see that too, as Dave
Yeah.
would.
Yeah, that's a,
I'll look it up.
yeah, so
Yeah, because you can set the input on these, but it's whatever they programmed in the RX 888.
well,
But I'd be surprised if it was set as crystal input unless they were actually using a crystal rather than an oscillator.
it's a, that's how all of that's how the Red Pitaya, the TRX Duo, the 888, all of these SDRs share this common clocking circuitry with external clock input. So they differ very little. And it appears Glenn Elmore, who also looked into this, as you could look for Glenn's reports on this subject. Again, I'm pretty sure these are in the Whisper Demon reflector groups. May not be in this. The HamSci group. This group's, I don't think is a group's IO, is it? Is this off of some other?
It's a Google group.
It's a Google group. Well, then it okay. I don't know if you can share posts between the two of them, but I'm, obviously since I run the Whisper Demon Google group, that's the one I monitor. So, but I do monitor the others. I'm always interested in posts from all of these, but I think that Glenn's work and Paul's work suggests that that you just do not want to connect that external clock input right up to your Bogner, which is of course what I'm doing foolishly right behind me. I realize. I've set up my demo that I'm going to bring on the table behind me. So I better follow my own advice and put I don't have any pads. I don't have any. All I can do is put a terminator on the line. But at least I should be doing that. It's running. It'll accept it. I don't think you damage it by overdriving it, but I think if you drive it that hard, you may induce occasionally. There may be extra clock transitions being detected by the analog to digital converter, and it produces a few extra samples. And when that happens, of course, Whisper Demon eventually detects it and says, I don't like this. And of course, digital RF doesn't like it if there aren't the right number of samples in the wave files. So the whole problem propagates through the whole recording chain if you have clock bounces in your input. So this is a problem that every user of a 888, and of course in the Clementine design or whatever we successor, you're going to have to deal with the same issue. Is how do you get a clean clock unless you build the GPS DO into the internal into the receiver itself. But if you don't do that, then you have to figure out how to get a clean clock. And how to know that you've gotten a clean clock. That's the big issue is how do you know that you've got a clean clock? And the only way I can figure out right now is if I make a 1 minute long, Whisper Demon records 960,000 cycles, wakes up and says, am I at second zero? If I'm not at second zero, then something's wrong. The clocking was wrong and it resets. But that's a pretty crude way to know if there's a clocking problem. But I don't know that there's any other way to do it in this system. And I think this is a common problem for the the systems, SDR systems that with the accuracy that we want are going to be confronted with this problem. How do you know? How do you know that your clock's right and your analog to digital converter is clocking right? I don't know. At the moment, I'm referencing the recording process referenced the NTP time maintained by the host CPU, which was of course not not nearly stable enough. It tells you only if there are gross errors in clocking. But
Well, that's what I was asking about today. Can
yeah.
we split and use GPSD to govern the computer that's connected to the 888 with the same GPS antenna?
Yeah, except
And
that the computer
take
is not
timing from the two.
yeah, but a Linux computer isn't a real-time device. So you could refine the time by doing that, but it's really not a way to validate that the clocking of the analog to digital converter is actually happening the way we want it to. So I don't really know the ultimate solution. I think I feel fortunate that right now it doesn't seem to be a problem at most sites, but I'm struggling with it at KPA,
Is it possible?
KFS.
Is it possible for the 888 to take timing from the computer? At least so that the computer and the 888 were synced, clearly and accurately synced.
Well, I don't think that you need to enhance the firmware in the 888. You need something that's pure hardware. Yeah,
Yeah,
pure
computer's not
hardware.
accurate enough for that.
Well, we
you
have
can't.
instruments for this sort of purpose.
What's that?
We have instruments for this sort of purpose.
At every receive site, you don't.
Now, I
Yeah,
know, but we can
you can
validate the basic design.
we can validate the design, but you can't. You want to validate it in operation.
Okay, well, but you get in the ballpark by having a good design that you're confident in.
Yeah, well, yeah.
And then you look at what measures you have that you can use to double check that,
Yeah.
By the way, is there a version 2 RX888 schematic available? Has anyone traced this out yet? I'm
No,
looking at the version 1 schematic.
we know exactly what's in the version 2. This idea that there is that we don't know what's in there has been bogus for a long, long time.
Well, what I'm asking is, do we have an accurate schematic for its clock circuit? I'm looking at the version 1 schematic, and what's fascinating here is it actually shows a VCXO for 27 megahertz and a trim pot.
Yeah, it's rare. They do trim it up. It's really
if that's so, we should be it should be very easy to put a PLL around that.
That would be if they brought out the VXO control pin. You could.
I'll have to take
you could
a look.
put you could phase lock the internal VXO. That would be that would be more elegant than. But as I understand it right now, that isn't how the 888 works. It does even in external clock mode. It just disables that internal clock.
No,
it's
I
not
know
used
that
at all.
that it would. Yeah, no, schematic doesn't show an external input, which is why I'm also wondering. It's curious because it shows a crystal and it shows a VCXO.
Mm-hmm.
And then it has 100 puff capacitor coupling. If I read this right, coupling from the oscillator into the crystal input of the 5351.
Okay. Clint went through and fixed the 888 that I burned out, and in the process he went through and took the can off the oscillator section of the printed circuit board and replaced the parts and got it working. And in the process, of course, he worked out the schematic of that part of the circuit.
Well,
so
that's why I'm asking. Somebody should.
Well, Clint
publish
did
that.
it. Well, Clint did it, and he has a blog entry. I either it's already there or it's in the works.
Very good.
that
Well-
we're between Clint and Glenn and Paul. There's been a lot of work around finding the schematic and determining the right way to interact with the 888. And there's each of these three engineers has a slightly different perspective on how to what's appropriate, and even John Ackerman, of course, has his insights as well. So there's four chefs in the kitchen here, and I don't, each one has his own kind of perspective and goals. They're not incompatible, but they are different, and you need to kind of, if we're going to design your own, we need to pick what's the right trade-off.
Let's just make sure no one leaves the cake out in the rain.
Yeah, yeah. So it would be worthwhile, I suppose, for me, maybe when I'm on the plane or something, to see if I can find all of the. I'll do a quick search and see if I can find the discussions. And I guess everybody here is in the HAMSI.
Right. This K9Q main email list, is that on Google Groups?
Yes.
Very
Yes.
good. I don't know if I'm in that or not, but.
Well, if you haven't asked to be in it, you wouldn't be in it.
Well, I don't remember. You guys have so many different email lists. I don't remember what I'm on.
Well, you can go to your Google List account and it'll list all the things you're in.
I know it. I have to go look.
I looked at mine and I can't believe all the ones I'm in. So fortunately, I've turned off emails for most of them, so I don't get that many groups. But anyway, there's a whole bunch of information on this, and I will go see if I can't uncover the relevant things. I've the clock articles or emails that people have discussed. What other things are?
I just sent at least one of those emails from Paul to the HAMSI group.
Did you? Okay. There was the one. Let's see. There's Glenn's and Clint's. Those are the so okay. Well, what else? Are we
found a
exhausted
JNOS group. Is that it?
Which one?
There's a JNOS group on Groups.io. But I don't find
that's
one
not it.
No, I don't find one that's K9Q.
Yeah, there's let's see.
Maybe it's not publicly listed.
Oh no, I think the K9Q-radio Google Groups. It's K9Q-radio is a group.
Oh.
And here I'll put the link in here.
Oh, great.
And then you can
oh, it's a Google group, not Groups.io.
Yeah.
Those names are too close.
HAMSI. K9Q radio. Yeah. Apparently. Oh, I see. My groups are over in Groups.io. I actually wasn't. Yeah.
I may have to get a second RX 888 just to pull it apart.
Well, there's why don't you could ask Michael to send you one of his broken ones.
Oh, there you
I
go.
have two dead ones. You can cannibalize them. I was going to send both of them to Clint. One of them is a is a 888 that is recognized by the USB subsystem and apparently loads the firmware, but it produces no usable data
Which is,
output.
yeah.
And the
Which
other
is,
one doesn't even show up as a USB device when you plug it in. Power is up, but it doesn't register with the system.
Well, if I have a choice, I'll take the one that does enumerate and
Right. Just a little less problematic, right?
right.
Well, put your
that,
address in. I'll send it to you.
Well, you gonna be
Yeah.
at the conference?
Oh, I'll bring it. There you go. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, and that was the symptom
Great
of the symptom of my broken one was that it would enumerate and it would load the firmware. Radio D would load up Franco's firmware into the FX3, but no data would come out, and that was the diagnosed to be the clock circuitry. Not the 5351 was burned out, and there's a differential driver that drives the 5351, I guess, that also had been burned out by my abuse.
I'd love to have the chance to debug it.
Wow.
You got it. I'll bring you both of them. You can knock yourself out. I figured Clint didn't want to be the graveyard of all RX 888s anyway, so you can you can share the wealth. I'm waiting on a couple new ones to come from
Yeah, I love
China.
digging into that stuff.
I want to have a backup in case one kind of goes south, and then one to play with actively on the bench. So, but it's scary. This is why I think, Dave Witten and I talked about this a month ago, was coming up with some kind of kit that Tapper could sell, and hopefully we'll be able to address this when we get to Cleveland together and come up with some kind of consensus of what at least gets us in the ballpark of safe operating practices with the 888 and will enable just the average user, without being an electronics engineer, to get one of these things up and running safely and in working order. Some of the niceties, like daisy chaining 5 of them in a row or that kind of thing, may require more in-depth analysis. But if you can just be confident that you can put 1 or possibly 2 on the air concurrently with one Bodnar or other BPSDO.
Yeah. Well, I'm good at
that would
running
be
clock
perfect.
signals.
Yeah, that would be
In
perfect.
one of my jobs, they called me the Terminator because I knew how to deal with these high-speed signals.
David, Michael forwarded. I don't know if it's all of this email trail that started with Paul, but it also included commentary by John Ackerman and I think in here is Glenn Elmore. So it's I don't think
The beauty of Glenn Elmore's package was that if I understood the way he was talking about it, it's the kind of thing that you could interpose generically between a frequency stabilizing source and almost any radio, but in particular some of the ones that we might be interested in, including the TRX Duo, which is the Red Pitaya clone, the 888, and maybe some other radios. So that was particularly interesting. Plus, I don't know, he shook a box that seemed like he had a whole bunch of boards.
He has a bunch of boards, but he doesn't want to give them to anybody because he doesn't want to have to do the support work. So so one of the subjects of our discussion that we're having is to see if John Ackerman, I guess, Tapper would take it on. Tapper has taken on the Glenn's PLL, his GPSDO design, and created a GERT from it. And John is bringing a couple of the GERT prototypes with him. But this is a clock, a clock input device for many types of receivers. And
Yeah.
Glenn has them. He hasn't populated them with VCXOs because it depends upon the device. Different devices have different external clock input requirements. So you need to get not only different frequencies, but also differential drive, single-ended, I don't know, signal levels. I don't know. Glenn says there's a bunch of different ones, and you need to. He didn't populate the VCXOs because
It would be really nice to have something, and not overthink it, at least have it for some of these major use cases.
yeah.
Well,
That's why John is thinking of a kit where specific target. Okay, this is RX888. As I'm going to describe it, here's components you can buy and have in 2 or 3 days from Amazon. Okay, and you can plug them together. Well, the 888 needs to be modified, of course. So that's not completely trivial. It's not hard, but it would be, everybody's now buying these 888s and making their own modifications to them. So
What
we
would
end
be
up with,
useful is pre-drilled end plate with
yeah, I had
other
suggested
items.
that we actually make a pre-drilled end plate with the backside
that's
with
great.
the important components on the backside of that end plate.
That's
Perhaps.
a great idea. Now, Glenn, yeah, and if you had it populated
So
with
I've
the
got the
parts,
connector, I've got a switch, and the switch goes into a jack that goes on the
Jumper.
header. Yeah.
Yeah.
well, Glenn tells me that that his little board, of course, it has active parts on it, so it requires power. But he told me you can take the power from the jumper pins that are used to, so they will supply power. So there's no soldering required. You can plug in, you get power from those jumper pins. You pull off the jumper to turn off the external, the internal oscillator, and you can take power from there, and you can take power, of course, the UFL connector on the board. So there's no soldering required. So one could create a little, I think that's a great idea, Dave, is to create a back plate that had the adapter board on it with the cables all set up, and all the user would have to do would be unscrew their 888, connect these up. The thermal changes are, I think, really easy to do. So you have a little piece of thermal foam that they put on, and slide it back in and screw it up, and you now got your 888 modified with no soldering iron required.
The only thing, there's not a lot of room on the backside of this. It seems like the best way to go about it I can think of.
Well, it could be on the outside too. Doesn't have to be on the inside.
This is how I've got mine.
Mm-hmm.
It's got the connector, it's got the switch.
There's a lot more room on that end of it. Yeah.
I put it on the USB end.
And then the other thing I did, I drilled 2 little holes where the LEDs are, so you can actually see them.
I put in a micro toggle switch so you could turn on and off the external oscillator, internal oscillator.
That's what I've got here. You've got the SMA connector, and then I have a toggle switch.
Yeah, that's it. But I did to mine.
It fits very nicely in there.
But I never used the toggle switch. I never used
Yeah,
those. I mean, so I stopped
that.
doing it because they're just, they're not useful to me if they're not, receivers aren't useful to me if they aren't GPS disciplined. So that
makes sense. The other thing I did is I actually put a big heatsink on it. That's an old CPU heatsink.
Yeah.
And I could put a fan on that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I did the complete mod according to Clint, and put the iron epoxy glue took off the heatsink that came with it, which was not well thermally attached, pulled it off, cleaned off the adhesive, and glued it back on. And that works just fine for me. This is here, I'll pull it off. There's nobody. Let's see, I've powered it off. Okay. So I put on this side, there's the thermal tape is on between the printed circuit board and the bottom of the case. What is the bottom? So the heat is transferred to this, and this thing is warm, but hardly,
Right.
I did
essentially the same thing, but I used a much larger heat sink.
Now, what I wanted to do on an actual redesign was actually put a temperature sensor on the board. Just
yeah, good idea.
Why not? A little I squared C, that.
Well, I mean, the other thing to do is to move those power supplies a little farther away from the metal cap, electrolytic caps, so they don't fry the caps that are their bypass regulations, so they don't overheat them. And I don't know, the whole thing it'd be nice to have the option to have external power. You could feed it, instead of coming down the USB bus. I'm not sure if that's a good or bad choice, but it seems like an option ought to be there. But anyway, there were some, Michael, you forwarded, I think, only one of the emails from that long chain to this group.
Yeah.
Right. This the first Paul's mention, maybe ham side. Okay, so if I forward it, here's Glenn, and Glenn mentions, I think it's or is it Franco who mentions a link to Clint's blog entry on the subject. So I think that would give Dave all of the all the major discussions. Here's ham. See if I can get a ham sci Google Groups, and let's see how much is in here. Let's see. Yeah, I don't. Let's see. Here is Glenn's discussion, and oh yes, and here's Franco, who added. These may be redundant, but here's Clint's post to the next gen SDR. So these are the.
Yeah, I am subscribed to next gen, so I get whatever those are.
Yeah.
Who runs next gen? I've never known whose group that was. Anybody know?
No, I don't.
Not that important, but I'm just curious.
No, I don't know. It's I think we found Franco through the next gen SDR, but
yeah, but there are lots of other people there too.
Yeah,
please subscribe to it.
Yeah, it's a lot of discussions that I don't pay much attention to, but
there's so much flying by, it's hard to keep track. Anyway.
Okay. Oh, interesting.
It's 2,300 here, so.
Okay, well that's fine. It's easy for me to. I had enough myself. I had a long day. Okay, so we wandered around. Thank you all. It's nice to talk with you all.
Rob, before you go, or Michael, so yeah, I'm having a few people put together these RX 888s, and I might want to just get another set or two for myself here in Scranton. So we need the RX 888, and then any Leo Bodner, like even the mini Leo Bodner, will work, right?
Yeah, there's no reason to get the dual. It's almost unusable, really. I mean,
okay.
you can
mini Bodnar works, but you need the little paraphernalia to connect
And
You
what's
need an
little?
SMA to, I sent an email to you earlier today. Did you get that?
I probably did, but I'm like,
You need an inline attenuator, 10 dB, I
okay, I've
guess will
got
work.
that.
You need a T connector,
I don't
Okay,
have
I
any.
got
SMA.
that.
You
Yeah,
need
I don't have
you
it.
need a 50 ohm terminator, and you need the pigtail, the IPEX UFL pigtail to female SMA to bring out from the board,
Okay, so you may have to
because
get.
there's a little,
Yeah,
so you need
maybe
a
I
little
should.
pigtail to bring it out.
Yeah, I could
And
bring a
so I
kit.
specified all that in
Yeah.
that email.
Yeah.
I think
Okay.
I have
And
I have a bag of those UFL cables, and I'm
the
just looking.
UFL cable brings it out of the RX888.
Are you able to
and you
just
could,
bring? Are you able to just bring 2 of those kits, Rob?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Do you want?
Yeah,
Uh,
if you can just bring 2 of those kits, because that would be amazing.
Yeah, yeah. Here's no. That's not. I have to look through. This is my RX
Yeah.
888 modification
then
kit here. So
I already have a dual. I have I've got a dual Leo Bodner right now. So
that'll work.
That works fine.
that works fine.
It'll
It's
work.
just a.
but
It's-
I'm
It's
probably gonna
overkill, but it'll work.
yeah, I'm probably gonna duplicate the setup, so I might get. I'm probably gonna order some more hardware too. So, and then you said so last week you said the B links work, but you said they're tricky.
There's a
The-
couple of mods you have to make to the fan. If you get the 5560, you got to do a couple of hard firmware tweaks to make sure that if the power inadvertently goes off, it'll power back on into the on position rather than be dead. And you have to adjust the fan speed because
maybe we should have a
Linux doesn't
little session on Saturday.
Yeah,
and
that'd be
everybody
great.
bring your
Bring your
bring your
B-link.
B-Link.
B-links and
Oh, dear.
and your AAAs.
That
And,
actually-
do you have you need a hole punch to until Dave Witten produces a back panel for us. You need a hole punch.
So okay,
And
That'll work. That one right there will work.
this one right there. Okay.
Yeah, you can buy them. The best price I saw today was $239. Go.
I got mine for $229. I found one that had $100 off coupon.
Yeah, do a sort by price.
And it came in
do
a
sort
day or
by
two.
price. Do a sort by price.
While I'm thinking of it, while we're
looking.
talking hardware, Nathaniel, is there a place I can ship hardware to the conference?
Email Christina.
Christina. Okay, I will do that. I may want to just ship it rather than try to schlep it on an airplane.
I don't see the sort by
B-link.
price here.
B-link search and then sort. Go back and do the search again.
B-link.
Yeah.
I don't see anything that says sort by price.
And where's the sort by price? Where's
That's I'm looking for that.
What happened? There's no sort by. Why don't you have a?
I don't remember ever seeing one.
I always.
Now, if you click on that and then down below, it'll have similar items. You'll have a whole stream of where is it?
You do
There
not
with
want
similar items. There you go. Then
Yeah.
you can. That's not
still the
what I
cheapest
thought
one.
it would.
I did this search earlier today and I put a link up in my presentation that I'm working on. You don't need my presentation. Do you need it ahead of the show, Nathaniel?
Yes, because I'm going to run the slides off of that OneDrive link.
Oh, okay. So, but how soon do you need it? It's
before you get on stage.
Okay. Well,
because I will have
After
the
you get on
OneDrive.
stage, it's useless.
Yeah, I will have the OneDrive link up on the computer on stage, and I'll hit reload. I'll be like, oh look, Rob's presentation is here. Here it is.
So here's what here. If you've stopped presenting, let me show you my Amazon search, which includes the sort by feature.
Okay.
this is strange that you wouldn't have it. Here's a,
Well, he's from Scranton, so
Well,
yeah, maybe they
I
don't let
am.
you guys in. Maybe these
They
people
might
don't.
not because
I
I am
see.
like logged in with my university account up there.
university.
Ah, okay. Well, see here, I did a B-Link SER5. That I did that search,
Yeah.
and this comes up, and you see I get the sort by featured, and they show you this. But if you go over here and sort by low to high, they now okay. So then
There's
you,
the
they pick up the
239 one.
yeah 239.
Could you
I've
could
bought
you
them
just
as low as
can you just put that link in the chat right now?
yeah, okay. This is
The no, if you click on the
Click on that,
first
the
one,
239
click
one,
on
and
the
then send them
239
the
one.
link.
okay, hold on a second. Wake up. You'll have it by Wednesday if you order it tonight. Well, I'm on the West Coast, so maybe so. Okay, a copy.
What's funny is I keep looking whether I send it to the house or send it to the college, and it can be different by a day. Sometimes one way, sometimes the other way.
You know, when I was in Maui, I discovered I'd been waiting for 10 days for Amazon deliveries in Maui and go to my post office box. And we needed one quicker. I had Amazon send it to general delivery at the same post office, and they delivered it in 2 days.
Wow.
I couldn't believe it. Why? I mean, the post office my box was in the same building, and yet it took an extra week to deliver it for them to deliver it. Okay, so I've got this. I have to stop share. And let me see, let's put this in V. Most of this is garbage, but you can
figure it out.
Nathaniel, I have something.
Right. Now click on that and see if you get it.
I got it.
You got the 239 price.
I do, yes.
Good. That's the one to buy. So there's the two BIOS changes are essential. You have to change it so the fan runs. The default behavior is to keep the fan quiet for gamers.
Yeah, and that turn on at
and
power outage. That's
and
a
they always
fairly
and
standard thing to do.
they're buried deeply in a submenu, a BIOS submenu.
Every version of Windows, it gets worse.
This is not a Windows. This is a BIOS change.
Oh, BIOS.
This is you have to.
Oh, right.
This,
I see.
Yeah, this. Yeah, we're loading up. You're
Never
loading up. But by the way, you want to always load up this. Well, if you're going to use Whisper Daemon, at least, you want to load up the server. Well, I think for almost any purpose, you want to use Ubuntu 22.04 LTS server version, not the desktop.
One thing I was going to do is put an actual hard drive in mine and put the Linux on that. Does that make sense?
It'll work.
Then I can leave the Windows drive alone.
You can leave the Windows drive alone. You can set it up for dual boot.
Partition the Windows drive to dual boot.
Yeah, but I would. Brett says Windows will go in, and I had this experience. Windows will hijack the boot loading. Okay, even if it didn't get you install Ubuntu's dual boot mode and make grub the primary the default boot. You tell the BIOS somehow Windows goes in and changes the BIOS setting and makes it the primary bootloader. So apparently, according to Brett, if you want to dual boot your B-Link, go in and put a password on the BIOS. And then if you boot into Windows, if you choose to boot into Windows, Windows won't be able to change the boot order. And the boot, really, it's not the boot order. It won't change the boot program that's run, because it will go and change it from grub to its Windows boot if it gets a chance.
Yeah.
So that's, I'm told. I haven't done that, but
I didn't have that problem, but I installed Proxmox from a SD stick on mine and haven't had that difficulty, but it has an elaborate BIOS.
Well, it's the B-Link has an elaborate, they seem to have every AMI feature enabled, which is great. I mean, I have another brand 5560 here, the mini PC, but it doesn't offer those things, so those features in the BIOS. So you can't control the fan. And if you don't change the fan to automatic mode, then the CPU will overheat when Whisper Daemon goes and runs the Whisper decoders, or when a K9Q, if you were to use K9Q, when he runs the decoders, it'll overheat the CPU. The CPU will throttle back. It'll probably work, but you're not getting most of the performance. And I mean, I'm pushing these B-Links now at KFS. They're 100% busy half of the time, but I have them doing a lot of work. Anyway,
So
there you are.
this looks good though, Rob. So I've got
Yes,
one of those, and then
that's it. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Nathaniel?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did have something I wanted to mention to you real quickly.
Sure.
I got an email from Alex, who is wanting to put data up onto the Linode server, and it wasn't working for some reason. But I was looking around, and I see I'm getting low on data space on there. And I have been buying, I think, what they consider compute capacity.
Yeah.
They have a new thing, and I don't know how this works, but they have a thing where you can buy block storage
Okay.
much cheaper.
Yeah.
And do I dare experiment with that? They have it at the Dallas facility, and it's like it's 10 cents per gigabyte per month or something like that, compared to, I'd have to go to the like third tier of Linux, and then I'd have to buy more CPU and more.
I don't know. I mean, at this point, the original
Or are we
plan
using
was,
that as much at all?
well,
Yeah.
the original plan was that that the Linode was always going to be a temporary thing, and then we would transition to the University of Alabama server. And
Yeah.
the University of Alabama server is now working.
Oh, it's
And
not working.
it is working.
Oh, it's now working.
It's
Yeah.
working. It is now
Yeah,
working.
gotcha.
So, I mean, I think the way I would like to see it is to have all of these systems submit their data to the Alabama server.
Well, I've been, I don't mind the cost, but the next increment, in capacity, if I just upgrade to the next level, it starts to get a little steeper. And I don't mind keeping it,
I guess what I'm saying is if it's starting to get cost prohibitive, maybe now's the time if you want to turn off that server and we get everyone just to submit to the Alabama one.
Okay, well, I'm certainly not going to do anything sudden.
Okay.
But I was thinking about experimenting with the block storage, which is like sand storage, I think.
Yeah.
Which they treat as just blocks of storage space
Yeah.
out in the great beyond.
Yeah.
And you can do it with FreeNAS and stuff too. And I
Yeah.
haven't completely got my head around it all, but
Yeah.
Anyway, so but I didn't know what the status of all that was.
Yeah.
And I should be encouraging people. There may just be people like Alex sounded
Yeah.
like just putting magnetometer data
Yeah.
or something at, I don't know. I encouraged him to get in touch with
Yeah.
or pursue the Alabama.
Yeah, I'd encourage everyone, if it's okay with you, to go start, make sure they're submitting to Alabama, because that's also where Hyomin's, Hyomin is his team's doing some development on that server. That's where everything's supposed to go.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I've just been thinking of this as kind of a backup or a
Yeah.
playground space, but at some point, you know, if it's not important in any way,
Yeah.
you know, it
I'm
seems kind of crazy to keep expanding it.
Yeah, no, I don't think you should. I think we should transition people to Alabama because that was the original plan, and that's what was in the grant. And actually, the grant, it's almost spent all the way down, the original grant. And
Uh-huh.
which is also the plan because I'm supposed
Uh-huh.
to have that grant spent down. We're on our second no cost extension. So I'm
Sure.
supposed to spend it down by this December. So I think we're on track to do that. But then I also have to start within the next almost immediately, as soon as I get bandwidth, trying to figure out how to write a new grant to,
Uh-huh.
take things to the next level. But
Right.
which I want to do. There's another Daisy call. I think we should apply for what's called a track 2 Daisy, which is where we do a deployment and of these things. So I'd include money to deploy probably magnetometers. I think the Whisper Demon systems. But I have a lot of work I have to do to get
I understand
these
perfect.
ducks in a row. And
Yeah.
I'm very nervous about it because there's not nearly enough time. And I have
Well,
a million things pulling at my attention. So
well, I'm happy to talk to you about anything like that. If I have anything useful to say on the subject,
okay.
but I have nothing urgent, and I didn't want to bother you either. But
Yeah.
I just didn't know what to be telling people at this stage of the
Okay.
game.
Definitely, I would tell people start submitting, make sure their system's submitting to the University of Alabama.
Yeah. Okay. And I'm happy to take their data for a while longer too, but I
Thank you.
won't present that as a permanent strategy.
Right.
Yeah.
That's excellent. So that's good. And Rob, one other thing you said, or Michael, you said we need a low pass filter as well.
Yes, you do need a low pass filter. I have 5 of them.
I have, okay. All right.
I'm bringing them. These
Yeah.
are, I'm bringing them with me. So this is,
Oh, thank you. I also,
you probably need, you may very well need LNA as well. 10
okay.
dB of gain.
I have a bunch of, mini circuits, 3 to 30 megahertz bandpass filters running around here. No,
Well,
you
those
don't.
are not what these are. This is a low pass filter plus a shelving filter, which sort of preferentially cuts out the big booming signals in the medium in the AM band.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
that
the
it's
3 to
not
30 will
overwhelming
do it.
Yeah.
beg your
So
pardon?
I mean, the 3 to 30 will do it. It'll just really
You
No?
need something. You need does it have a fifth order Chebyshev low pass at 30 megahertz? You need that for one thing to be. You need a really sharp filter, low
Really
pass
sharp.
filter, really sharp. Yes, otherwise
Yeah.
you're going to get the police bands aliasing into your down into the shortwave band.
By
So,
the way, one thing I've found is you
And
buy
they have
2 of the mini circuits and concatenate them, you get a pretty good filter actually.
yeah.
and
Well,
concatenate.
this is these are Paul's filter designs. He's
Yeah.
he's characterized them quite well, and Phil Karn has used
Yeah.
them extremely successfully, as
Well,
have many other people.
yeah. If you have the filters that are characterized
I
and
have
ready to
them.
go,
I have
I'll
them.
take
Yeah.
those. And then I have in terms of preamps, I have some advanced receiver research HF preamps.
Yeah. Well, you'll see. You may not need, depending upon every site's different. The other thing that I will be okay. So now I realize it. The other thing that can be useful, not always, is a common mode isolation transformer, and I'm going to bring some of those as well.
Okay.
at some sites and many sites, your RFI is introduced by the ground loops, on the the grounds, the antenna ground leads circulate, and the ground currents introduce the power supplies, and the LNA power supplies end up introducing a giant loop antenna. It's a ground loop, but it requires, the signals we look at are so minuscule that even nano amps flowing across the ground plane of the printed circuit board can introduce a signal, an RFI signal, into the RF input. So you need to do what you can to eliminate those, the sources, but the common mode isolation, I'll bring some of those too. Now that I built up a bunch of these. I have these use the mini circuit T11, which is works pretty well. I mean, it's only 30 dB of suppression at 30 megahertz, but it's a whole lot, and sometimes you wind your coax around that. Where am I? Oh yeah, here they are. These are things. This is something that Glenn Elmore designed. It's just a T11 on a printed circuit board with a male and female connector on it, or two females. But this is a good diagnostic tool, but not necessarily. I don't think it worked for Michael, right? It didn't really solve your problems.
No, again, so many of these things are site specific. You hook up the antenna without anything, see how it looks. And now that we have that John Melton's code built in, so we can look at the full spectrum, you get a snapshot of what things are looking like, and then you can add and subtract the T11, the LNA, the shelving filter, and so on and so forth to get the sweet spot.
Yeah, there's every site's different. It's but anyway, I have 4 of these, so I'll bring these along. I'm going to have to. I have more of the printed circuit boards, but I need to order another batch of T11s, and but that's another.
Hey, Rob,
yeah.
bring some raw circuit boards. I actually have those parts.
Do you have what parts? The T11s?
I have the T11s and the connectors. So if you brought a couple of raw circuit boards, I'd appreciate it.
I'll bring I have a little baggie here with maybe I ordered. They cost next to nothing from Osh. I'll bring the whole thing with me, and yeah, I probably have a dozen of these printed circuit boards, and so the other thing to assemble you'll need, Nathaniel, is like a hole punch to punch. Okay, you have that. So
I'm sure we can.
Okay,
I'm sure
at
the
sure there's a
university.
shop. Yeah, the university has a shop someplace.
Yeah, we have a
go.
machine shop. We've got all.
Yeah, they got
Majid is very good at doing those sorts of things.
Good. Well, that's what we'll need. And now I realize this thing is a baggie has a hole in it. So so I better be sure that I haven't lost. Okay. Okay. Anyway, I think I've lost one already on the floor. Okay. So I'll have to go look for it. But it's good. This is very productive because I'm assembling everything I'm going to take with me.
Yeah, and thank you very much. I appreciate that because now that this is really coming together, I'd really like to get one of these running at my house. And you met Patrick Honan on here. I want him to have one running over at his place, and potentially a third one running at the university itself. And I think
then you better order them, and let's have a session on Saturday afternoon, a build session, and we'll
that sounds good.
We can do the software installation. We can do it. We'll sit out there in the demo area and do all that stuff while while people wander by, and that would be and it would be a graphic demonstration of how you build Whisper Demon Grape receive site.
I might have either Majid or one of my students who worked on this project last summer, Rob Troy. Both of them will be there, so maybe I can assign them to work with you on
Okay.
this. Or talk
Can
with
we
you.
can you give us a site now? I see, I'm trying to remember. I don't think we did a demo at Case Western, but at Scranton we were near the door, so I was able to run a cable out the door.
Yeah, I
And,
don't think I can promise that.
Okay. I have a about 50-foot long RG 157. So I was able to stick that through under the doormats and through the doors to the
I don't
so
think our hardware is going to come in time though for this weekend because it looks like it's going to get delivered on the March 25th.
what
Well, if your computer is set up and running wherever you plan on using it, we can install the software and get that up and ready to go.
you can't.
Okay.
I can get the B links in 2 days.
I just ordered it.
Well, if you get the B link and you bring it, we can install it there. But if you get it and you plug it in where you intend to install it, and it's on the network, we can also do it that way.
Yeah.
Then you just have to plug the radio in and whatnot when you get home.
It's best. I'll tell you, it's really best to have assemble the whole thing and verify that it's working. I mean, that's my.
I think what's gonna end up happening is I think I'm going to order this. I'll probably give it to Patrick Honan, and then he'll work with you probably.
Okay.
I think that's about the best I can do.
Okay. Well. However, we've done a lot of remote installations, so we can. It's pretty. But there's getting through the. Let's see. Do I have an extra? What is this? This is a T. Oh, I have a T1. I didn't know I had. I found a T11, an extra one. So I'm now I have to find the one I lost. Okay. Well, you have me assembling all the things I'm planning to take with me. I was thinking, what should I bring? I have all my little SMA adapters and kits and so on, and I really don't want to carry this whole thing.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, I want to be sure I bring enough of the odds and ends that that we don't. Of course, you are a university, and you do have probably a whole bunch of stuff like that floating around.
Yeah.
So maybe it isn't like going to Maui where I don't.
No, and we can get things quickly too.
Okay.
So.
Okay. Well, there's a few components that are hard to get, and those are the ones that I'm bringing with me.
Thank you.
Nathaniel, I realize I have a question on something completely different. Do you have a template, PowerPoint template?
I sure do.
For the workshop?
I will be happy to send it to you in like 30 seconds. Saving this. All right, let's see. So one template going to David McGaw. Actually, I sent it to Bob Gerzoff this morning.
And let's see if I can.
McGaw. All right. There you go, David. I just sent it.
Propagation delay no. Yeah, the propagation delay through
yeah, it'll take
Outlook
a minute.
is slow.
I know. There are so many things.
Got it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, I'm hardwired out. I think it's time to QRT.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
I'm gonna sign off too. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you
Thanks,
all.
everybody.
Yeah.
Have a good
nice-
evening.
nice. Okay, see you guys Thursday. We're going to be in. Are you going to be around during the day on Thursday, Nathaniel, or anybody?
We're gonna get in the evening,
Okay.
so I'll probably end
Yeah.
up seeing you on Friday or something like
Okay.
that.
I'll be
okay.
getting in time for dinner if people are around.
Okay. Well, we'll be at the Marriott, and I don't know when Phil's arriving, but Paul and I are arriving together 6 a.m. So,
Oh wow,
well,
great,
there's
great and
only
early.
there's only one nonstop a day between Cleveland and San Francisco. So either you spend the day, going through Chicago and spend an extra 3 or 4 hours, or you do the red eye. So Paul and I chose the red eye.
Mm.
So hopefully we'll get a little rest. Well, I don't know what. I guess I didn't have that extra a little. Okay, well, David, you bring some T11s and does somebody will have a soldering station? Is there going to be is there a maker room or
I
something?
yes, the whole demo room is in their giant like world-class maker space.
Oh, good.
So
Okay, so
I
we
am
can.
sure someone can find you a soldering iron.
Well, good. Yeah, we'll need soldering iron and hole punch or drill and little screwdrivers and all that stuff. And since I'm only bringing, I'm probably only going to bring carry-on. Where's that coming from?
Where is what coming from?
I don't know. Okay, that was a very loud noise for me. Okay.
I wonder if it's my background noise.
Yeah.
Is the recording
Okay.
still going?
Yes.
Okay. So, okay, Mike. Well, you'll be joining us on Zoom, I hope.
You betcha.
Okay,
It's
but
exciting.
I think hopefully you could be a testimonial. What you could do when I give my call, when Paul gives his talk on Friday morning, you could chime in and say how easy it was to install the
All I did was
Sun.
plug it in.
Yeah, that's I think the message we're trying to convey is you can be on air and be a top beacon in half an hour. So you can help us communicate that. Okay. What else? Anything else? No.
I think that's.
We've driven everyone away. Okay.
I think we've done it.
Okay. Take care. See you. I'll see you on Friday.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay. Bye.